Another mask mandate in Joplin. Health leaders sound the alarm, calling the current COVID-19 situation a public health crisis. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes. Health officials from area hospitals joined with other health institutions to ask local elected officials to implement a mask mandate in all cities in Jasper and Newton counties. Now, officials say the recent spike in COVID-19 cases and the burden on our local healthcare systems makes a mask mandate necessary. You can read the letter in its entirety on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Now, the mayor told council he plans to reach out to county and area city leaders, and several people at last night's meeting spoke against another mask mandate. And we are now asking you to weigh in. Would you support a mask mandate in your community? You can go to Facebook and respond with why or why not. You can also weigh in on our current KOAM Instapoll question. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We're already getting comments on our Facebook page. Michael Hayslip joins us to share a few.
Yeah, Tanya, we'll start with the Instapoll right now, where 67% of the respondents say yes, they would support a mask mandate in your community. And behind me, we have the KOAM News Now Facebook page up as well. Some comments that we can chime in with real quickly include one from Don Frevel, who says, education can cure ignorance, but stupidity has no cure, as is evident by anti-maskers. Jamie Jo Kelly says, spoiled, self-entitled, selfish babies. If you refuse to wear one, I certainly hope you don't consider yourself doing the Christian thing, even if they didn't work. Alan C. Christopherson, though, he says, no, I wouldn't. Rob Kellogg, I guess people are idiots for having a different opinion, or it makes you feel intelligent by calling other people idiots. And once again, all you need to do is log on to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Right now, we're up to 68% of you saying yes, you support a mask mandate in your community.
All right, we'll check in on that Instapoll with the results later in the show. Thanks, Michael. Well, Oklahoma restaurants prepare for a new set of COVID-19 related restrictions. Health officials in the Sooner State report a 10% increase in active COVID-19 cases. That prompted the governor to announce a new round of restrictions on restaurants, and those include a new mandatory closing time.
Also effective Thursday, I'm requiring all bars and restaurants to close at 11 p.m. No in-person service of food or alcohol will be allowed after 11, except for curbside or drive-through windows. We need to slow the spread of this virus. Data shows that social distancing is harder to maintain as it gets later at night, especially in bars.
The governor is also ordering restaurants to make sure customers are socially distanced by spacing tables 6 feet apart. If a restaurant cannot meet the distancing requirements, then they need to install a barrier between tables. The governor's announcement also includes a new set of rules for state employees. They must wear masks when they're working near others. Visitors to state-owned buildings are also required to wear masks. Well, government officials are still barred from briefing President-elect Joe Biden until the Trump administration recognizes that Biden won the election. The president-elect says those delays are hurting his efforts to prepare for the deployment of coronavirus vaccines. Michael George has more details from Wilmington, Delaware.
President-elect Biden says President Trump's refusal to coordinate with the transition is putting American lives at risk.
More people may die if we don't coordinate.
Mr. Biden says the Trump administration is blocking his team from seeing detailed plans for coronavirus vaccine distribution, much of which will take place under a Biden administration.
How do we get over 300 million Americans vaccinated? What's the game plan? It's a huge, huge, huge undertaking. If we have to wait until January 20th to start that planning, it puts us behind over a month and a half.
President-elect Biden is still not receiving the presidential daily intelligence briefings. Today, he's bringing in advisors from outside the government to brief him on national security issues. CBS News has learned President Trump plans to draw down U.S. forces in Afghanistan and Iraq to about 2,400 troops in each country. A senior Afghanistan official told CBS News a premature withdrawal could embolden the Taliban to continue violent attacks. He added, God forbid, Afghanistan will once again become the safe haven for international terrorists.
Nothing about the circumstances we face today suggests that if we lose resolve, the terrorists will simply leave us alone.
The new acting defense secretary, Christopher Miller, said in a message to employees he wants to bring the current war to an end in a responsible manner that guarantees the security of our citizens. Michael George, CBS News, Wilmington, Delaware.
CBS News has learned the Pentagon expects to receive the drawdown order soon. Well, we've got a surprisingly pleasant week ahead of us. Michael Hayslip joins us again, this time with a first look at your forecast.
Big surprise is just our temperatures. Our daily highs are going to cruise past, normally we'd be about 58, 59 degrees. We're flying past that right now. Live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera where we sit at 63 degrees. Oh my goodness, look how low that humidity's dropped. All the way down to 27%. Now, of note, we had cooler temperatures in the central portion of the 4 states earlier this morning. That's actually now one of our warmest spots, 67 already in Miami and Grove and 63 in Pittsburgh, compared to some 50s that we're still holding on to on the eastern edge of southwest Missouri. Clean Skywatch storm tracker, Midwest being dominated by a high pressure system, and future track. Yeah, that includes precipitation and cloud cover, not only for the duration of our Tuesday, but in through Wednesday as well. A whole lot of sunshine for the duration of the middle of the week. And then as we turn our attention to the end of the work/school week, throwing up the 70s up there on Thursday and Friday. Now we are looking at some much needed rain that presents itself on Saturday and Sunday, not looking at anything severe, and we'll get that right before a cold front drops in on us to begin next week. Coming up here in just a little bit, Tanya, we'll talk about kind of where we historically stand, and also too we'll run down, look at Hurricane Iota as it continues to devastate portions of Central America.
All right, we've got a lot to talk about. Thanks, Michael. And that's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, slowing the spread.
Programs in the Western world for COVID-19, and if it works here, it may offer a lifeline to the United States, too. I'm Charlie D'Agata in Liverpool, England. We'll have that story coming up.
And later, we're cooking up a classic soup recipe that's chock full of fresh ingredients and a wholesome good taste. The British government is trying to stop the spread of COVID-19 infections with a mass testing program in the English city of Liverpool. Operation Moonshot uses test technology from a California company to test as many people as possible, whether they have symptoms or not. Charlie D'Agata reports.
They answered a call to arms, soldiers and civilians alike, like teaching assistant Jackie Vaughn.
We just don't want to be walking around being non-symptomatic and spreading anything at all.
Liverpool already had one of the highest infection rates in the nation when the entire country plunged into a second lockdown. Mayor Joe Anderson said the virus was out of control.
Whilst we've got no vaccine being distributed, circulated yet, it's a tool. It's a tool in the armory, and it means that we can break the chain of infection.
About 2,000 members of the military have been deployed to test centers, including Liverpool's famed Anfield Soccer Stadium. The first part of the test is familiar, that rather unpleasant swab test down the throat and up the nose. The difference is these results aren't sent off to a lab, they're processed on the spot. The majority of samples undergo lateral flow testing to detect COVID-19 antigens in the swab. In just 20 minutes, mine came back negative. The government now plans to roll out this pilot program to 67 more areas nationwide before Christmas. Missing this year will be the mayor's older brother.
You know, when you look at my brother's death certificate and it says COVID-19 on it, that's the reality. This virus exists, it's there. It takes no prisoners, it's got no heart, and it will come for you.
Liverpool City Council said they've identified around 2,000 people who have tested positive since the program began. Many of them had no idea they were carrying the virus. They're now self-isolating for the next 2 weeks. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News, Liverpool, England.
Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
A sweater or turn up the heat, because we've got just the thing to keep you warm and cozy all winter long. Grab a big bowl, because you're gonna need it.
First, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Making out like bandits here 17 days into the month of November, and not only are we going to have above average temperatures for the next couple of days, really if you extend this out, it's going to be about, fast forward, about 21 days in, and a chance to finish off about the 7th highest daily high on record at Joplin Regional Airport. Should only be at about 58 degrees right there. Just gorgeous outside the mothership as we sit at 63 degrees. We'll discuss that humidity a little bit. That's dipped all the way down to 27%. Get Irwin out there, kill that bug. I'm not sure what that was. But the east-southeast wind only coming in 5 to 10 miles per hour, so we don't have an elevated fire risk. But I tell you what, it is entirely dry throughout the entire Midwest. Once again, we're going to be in some dire need of the rain by the time it does get here over the weekend. Interesting of note, we actually had a 10-degree difference where Aurora, Cassville, Monette, that area was in the low to mid 40s earlier this morning, while we saw places like Fort Scott, Girard, even Carl Junction right at, if not below, the freezing mark. And all of a sudden, it's really everybody from the west into the central portion that shot up on the thermometer. East just kind of hung out there. Don't get me wrong, it's still delightful. High 50s, can't beat it. And the reason what we're seeing, big high pressure system. Now the higher the pressure as we pull off to the east, going to be just a little bit cooler right there. You can tell that dividing line just about right down the middle, but no precipitation to worry about. Now a couple of low pressure systems, whether it be the northeast or the Pacific Northwest. We'll start with this one because this is going to generate some thunderstorm activity. You also notice from the ridge of the jet stream, once you get under that from the color contour, some much more mild November temperatures. And then they've got a little bit of snowstorm hitting the northeastern portion of the United States, not expected to really hamper any travel conditions or any watches or severe warnings. Now, what is severe? It is now Tropical Storm Iota, but when it made landfall late last night, it did so as a Category 4. Not only is it only the first time ever that Nicaragua has had 2 Category 4s make landfall in the same hurricane season, but when this thing hit 15 miles away from where Hurricane Eta made landfall, you have to remember that was merely 2 weeks ago. So it's not only catastrophic flooding that Nicaragua and Honduras are going to be dealing with, but also the potential for serious mudslides with the ground being so saturated from where Eta rolled in. And impressive in scope in the fact that even as it goes over the Central America, it's able to maintain tropical storm force and really doesn't even want to kick into a low pressure system until it gets near the Pacific basin. All of a sudden, can't complain about anything here in the 4 states. Beautiful blue skies, highs around 65, 66 degrees. And as we throw future track into gear, you'll notice no clouds, no rain. Now, at the same point in time, yep, we're getting to the point where we need rain. You go back to September 1 up to where we stand right now, we're about 3 inches down. And we are going to pick up some by the time we get into the weekend. It's not going to be anything severe and relatively scattered, not substantial by any scope, but at least it will be a little bit of something. And then after that, Tanya, hey, that's why you got to soak in these 60s and 70s because, look at the old Sunday low and the Monday high. Well, we know what happens when those numbers kind of match up like that and then plummet during the day as a cold front starts us off for the beginning of next week.
All right, looking for a big change coming, I guess. But in the meantime,
can't beat it today, though, or tomorrow, or Thursday, or Friday.
I know, it's going to be a great week. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Sergeant First Class Larry Wright in the U.S. Army. The Purdy, Missouri native joined the military in 1963. He fought in Vietnam until 1965. To Sergeant Larry Wright, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Today's recipe is best served with crusty bread to help soak up the very last drop. Howard shows us how to make split pea soup in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
As the weather starts to cool down, we start craving anything that's cozy and comforting. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to knit a sweater, but I do have a recipe that'll warm you up from the inside out. It's a classic one-pot split pea soup that's always welcoming. We start by adding some dried split peas to a soup pot filled with water. Now, if you're not familiar with cooking dried peas, this is a great way to get started. They're economical, and as they cook, they naturally thicken up the soup. To this, we throw in some ham that we chopped. This will add some smokiness. Now, we add some potatoes, chopped onions, carrots, and celery. And for the part that gives this its richness, we add in some chicken bouillon or chicken base, along with a bit of black pepper. All that's left to do now is let it simmer for about an hour or so. 1 spoonful is all it takes for those warm and cozy feelings to set in. Serve it up with a side of crusty bread for Dunkin'. That way you'll get every last drop. To get the recipe for our classic split pea soup, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a cozy and comforting way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Well, you can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
Final look at the KOAM News Now Instapoll, and you can also leave your comments on our Facebook page. Our question being if you would support a mask mandate in your community. Right now, 75% of you saying yes, you would. And that poll question remains open. All you need to do is go to KOAMnewsnow.com to vote. As we transition to the 7-day forecast, we're looking at sunny skies and temps in the mid-60s today, warming up into the 70s by Thursday and Friday. Right-hand side, look at that cold front that's going to roll in between Sunday and Monday. Now, over to Dow with a look at what's coming up tonight at 5.
Michael, Lyme disease affects thousands of people every year and can instantly change your life. Meet a young teen who's taking on a mission to educate, track, and cure this life-altering disease. Plus, Missouri lawmakers are working on a bill that would extend liability protections for healthcare providers, schools, businesses, and churches related to the pandemic. And local health officials push for another mask mandate in Joplin. We're going to speak with Mercy Hospital about the need to slow the spread. Hope you join us. KOAM News at 5.
Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.